in my mind, I always visualize trying to lead my team up a mountain, right? Like Mount Everest, if you want a grand picture. And the leader doesn't need to know that whole way and every crevice that you will need to trespass and things like that. But I need to know how I will find the way at every step of the turn.
What do you predict will be the next big thing in space exploration?
I think it will be two things. One is the real pioneers and the astronauts going out to like push that final frontier. So moon exploration, Mars exploration. I think Mars exploration will be a lot more difficult than most people think it will be. The other thing is, trailing right behind the tourists and those more fun adventurer type things. And I think that will mimic every other exploration that we had in the history of mankind. Where there's David and Clark running across the prairie and then people in their bandwagons right behind.
You are Germany's second female fighter pilot. How difficult was it to shatter glass ceilings in the German military?
I actually have to admit that it wasn't difficult to shatter those ceilings at all. And I never thought about it. I just did it. The German military allowed women very, very late. And I wasn't raised with that mindset at all. So I didn't give it any second thought. And I just did my job and I tried to do my best. And that was enough. And it's also enough because flying deals a lot with professionals, with people have received years and years and years of education. And we rely on each other pretty much for our lives. And we don't have time for that. Oh, you're a woman, or you're this, or you're that. It just, can you do your job or not? And that's all that counts. And I always found that very refreshing, in a very cool environment to be in.
While on the front line, how do you manage stress and risk?
Well, in flying, and especially in combat aviation, stress and risk are very, very present. It's very much at the forefront of our minds. So we manage that very consciously. It's not something that just like happens on the side, but it's the core of our everyday training. And there's two ways or two aspects to managing stress. It's one, we purposefully put ourselves under stress in training so that we get used to it. Right? It's the nice and the unfortunate thing with humans is that we become numb to everything, to even the craziest experience of flying 140,000 horsepowers of fighter jet around. So when you're in a simulator and you're on the ground and you're like, bah, 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 we need to go, eventually like, that's what happens. The engine's on fire. It's cool. I've done this 1,000 times before. I can handle it now. On the other side of that is I've always treated myself like a top professional athlete. I mean, I'm not. I'm just a normal human being, but I'm the only athlete I got, right? My team's won. So I try to be very conscious with my physical and my mental health too, and have the go times, but I also have my off days, relax, and I'm a very nice trainer or coach with myself. I don't just talk myself down or make put that pressure. I'm like, okay, you did well this week. You can relax. But then when it's go time, I'm like, okay, am I prepared? Do you have enough time? So I don't put myself under extra stress.
What are your top tips for leading a team through a crisis?
Well, leading a team is always challenging, right? You have to recognize that. It's being in a leadership position is rather lonely task sometimes, because you cannot be, you're the leader, you're not one of the team. Also, you can be very close to them. And leading successful in a crisis starts way, way before that crisis. So I believe the three things that you need in general to be a good leader is you need to have a lot of empathy. You need to be good in observing your people, so you can actually, with being able to feel what they're feeling or understand, see what's happening, understand your people and understand their reactions to what you said and things like that. So observance and respect. And sometimes, or in every single team, right, there's somebody that performs better than others. You don't just have the top, you have average people too, but you need to respect those just because they're human beings that, you know, got up to show up to beat her on that day and try their best. And with that respect, when there's time, right, before the crisis, you explain your decisions, you take other people's opinion into account, and you make rather democratic type decisions, meaning you gain the trust of your people and you gain credibility and authority. So when you have a crisis, and this usually means you don't have that much time anymore to gather around, get opinions, explain things like that, you have the trust of your people to lead you through that. And every now and then you can say, do it now, I need that. And they're like, okay, I know that she probably does this for a very good reason, I'll do it. And if I have questions about it, we can talk about those later. In my mind, I always visualize trying to lead my team up a mountain, right? Like Mount Everest, if you want a grand picture. And the leader doesn't need to know that whole way and every crevice that you will need to trespass and things like that. But I need to know how I will find the way at every step of the turn. And that's the mental picture and the image that I want to portray in my people's mind.